Hello, and thank you so very much for joining us for our very first episode of Waterdeep Dragon Heist, hosted here by Variant Roles. I'm Eugenio Vargas, the Dungeon Master for this particular campaign. I use he, him pronouns, and I am also known as your friendly neighborhood Dungeon Master, DM Jazzy Hands, from the actual play podcast, The Last Refuge. Tonight, we are kicking off a four-party mega stream of Wizards of the Coast's newest published adventure, Waterdeep Dragon Heist. You may have heard of it before. The six of us that you see here tonight are going to be running this exciting Waterdavian city urban adventure concurrently with three other teams of players and DMs. You are definitely going to want to watch all three of the other teams as well as they progress through their stories, because what one adventuring party does might to deal with. We're going to be sharing more details about when you can catch those other streams at the end of our episode tonight. But in the meantime, let's find out who we're playing with. First up, let's start with Max, who any of you who are Variant Roles followers might recognize, I think, from Under Dark Clouds, right, Max?
Yeah, and a lot of the one-shots.
Awesome.
I'm Max. I'm at Allmax D20, and anywhere you can find me, I usually play with Variant Roles, but always looking to join any other group because I just love playing the game.
Yes, I love that. Excellent. Next, we have Alex. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Alex, this is your first time on a live stream, right? You excited?
Oh, this is indeed my first stream. Yes, I am extremely excited, especially since I've been able to talk a little bit with everybody here. And it's just kind of like I'm gaining new friends in the community I'm kind of new to, but it's a great community, and I am so excited to be here.
Well, we are super excited to have you. Welcome. Next up, I think another stream newcomer, although certainly not a newcomer to tabletop role playing. We have Steven. Are you ready for this, Steven?
I am, totally.
Excellent. Next is Allison. Allison, I hear you're from a little something called Red Hand Roleplay, so you're no stranger to playing for an audience. Am I right? How you doing today?
Yeah, no, I'm doing great. But this is my first time streaming in second D&D campaign ever.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow. Excellent. Yeah. All right. Happy to have you along. And last, but most certainly not least, also of the Red Hand Roleplay bunch, we have Jonathan. How's it going, sir?
Hi, it's going very well. Very excited. Let's get this going.
Let's do it. Now, I have to tell on Jonathan a little bit, because not 5 minutes before we started the stream, he was for sure wearing a full tail suit, and I was a very happy dungeon master. But fair game. I bet it was not super comfortable for us to sit here.
Pretty warm here.
Yeah, that's legit. Okay, well, that is our team. You'll get to know a little bit about their characters as we go. And speaking of getting going, hey, adventurers.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Oh, it sounds like it's going really well so far for all of us.
That's great.
All right, well, let's start with Allison. What did you get, Allison?
3.
Excellent. And how about you, Alex? Oh, all right. Running the gamut here. Jonathan, how about you?
A whopping 7.
Hey, it's more than 3.
Yeah, just barely.
Max?
Way bigger than Jonathan. Another 7.
Another 7. All right, which of you would like to go first?
I think we'll let Max go.
Okay, great. Max will go. All right. Steven, how about you?
6.
Yes!
Starting strong.
So
excited.
Well, I love everything about this. Okay, so Alex, why don't we get started with you? Why don't you tell us a little bit about the character that we are now zooming in on? Oh, I should set the scene first just a little bit. So we meet our adventurers as they describe themselves in a tavern, much like any that you might see in any large city in the Forgotten Realms in Faerun, except that as you look a little more closely at some of the clientele here, you notice that there are more who are willingly and openly wearing weapons and armor. And it very quickly becomes apparent that this tavern, the Yawning Portal Tavern here in Waterdeep, is frequented by adventurers that are welcomed by the city. So, Alex, tell us a little bit about who you are and what we're zooming in on.
All right, so kneeling by the bar, you see this 5'10", beautiful silver-skinned tiefling with black obsidian eyes and purple hair. She's wearing simple black. It's got a little bit of pizzazz to it. The top's got like this nice silver, and leaning off her shoulders is a midnight purple cloak. do carry weapons openly. So at her hip, she's got these two beautiful silver scimitars with little dark amethyst purple and she's just sipping a nice ale with her horns that kind of go circle around like ram's horns. And at a closer look, they look a little darker than they should for a skinned tiefling, because as you see, there are runes just carved into it. And I love her.
We'll all grow to love her, I'm sure. All right, so, and her name is Silme, and Silme is standing in... What is she doing at the moment?
Looking about, and she seems out in the distance, and she's going to yell out, "Hi, a son on the beautiful half-orc."
All right, and a couple of the other denizens of the tavern sort of call out and match that sun, and a few of them try and raise it by a shard or two. And Silme.
No, she's just taking in everything she's watching and hopefully going to make a little coin tonight.
Okay, fantastic. Let's hop on down to Max. Tell us a little bit about your character that we now shift the camera over to.
Well, Theron is a rather beautifully handsome or handsomely beautiful, depending on the day, and is sitting and fussing over a certain halfling's hair, going, why do they have to be so violent all the time? I don't get it. And while they do this, the easiest way to describe them would be if Jareth the Goblin King from Labyrinth had vibrant red and orange hair and dressed like a Jedi. And just sitting there looking a little bit out of place and just fussing, making braids as best they can. And
I'm sorry, I got distracted because I was imagining that outfit that you described. Why don't you make us, for your action on this turn, why don't you make us a dexterity sleight of hand check, and let's just see how good those braids really are.
I hope I didn't waste my first natural 20 of the game on that, but...
Tightest, most flawless braid anyone has ever seen. Fantastic. So, Theron uses their action to braid the halfling's hair. Let's hop on over to Jonathan. Tell us a little bit about what we're seeing as we shift to you.
Right, so the camera sort of pans over and we focus in on a bead of sweat dropping down a grayish face as this hulking 6'7" Goliath with little red rivulets running through his skin reels back with all of his weight on his back legs as he comes up and he just kicks, two round kicks to the head, trying to attack his opponent.
All right, go ahead and make an attack roll. Or two, I suppose, if you're using that bonus action. All right, the first one was?
That's a 23 on the first one to hit.
That is going to hit.
Yeah. You want me to roll the attacks first and then damage?
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. All right, and the second one is a 20. So pretty good at the gate.
That is also going to hit. So 2 solid strikes on your opponent. How much damage?
That is going to be 14 damage total, actually.
Oh, if I'm not mistaken, I think that your opponent drops. So you 2 solid roundhouse kicks, one to one side of the head, the other one kicking your opponent back the other way, and your opponent drops to the ground. Well done. Steven, let's hop on over to you as we leave Rob after dropping his opponent.
Well, we return back over to the halfling who's having his hair just expertly braided. And Rowan, Tosscobble Porridge Pot, and there's a hyphen between Tosscobble and Porridge Pot, is kind of small for a halfling in stature, but he's also kind of fluffy. He's somewhere between not really handsome, not really plain, but he's kind of got like a larger nose and freckles, dark skin, brown hair that's not real clean. So it's actually probably a little bit more difficult to kind of sort through it because there's like little bits of stick and leaf and stuff and like some dirt that they are gonna have to sort through to get them all braided. He's got kind of a bouncy optimism to him, and he's not really standing real still for the whole braiding process. He's kind of like shifting between one leg and the other, and then he's like, "Oh no! in the direction of the fighting. He's just loaded down with stuff, like lots of bags, lots of colorful trinkets and knickknacks. Like a little soap skull and like tons of rings that just look horrible, like horribly crafted rings that he probably just found in a gutter.
I love it. All right. So with that cry from Rowan, the halfling, we head on over to Allison. Hey, Allison. So tell us about your character.
Yeah, well, everybody just had a good look at a 6-foot-tall female half-orc get socked in the jaw and knocked out by a Goliath there. So before she could even really retaliate, and just dropped to the ground. But green skin, black hair, braided with two braids to the side and going down to her back and probably about just past the shoulders, and black leather armor as well. But yeah, she didn't even have a chance on this one, it sounds like.
So we saw this half-orc hit the ground. Now, as a half-orc, you do have relentless endurance, so you can choose to drop to 1 hit point instead of 0 if you would like, and surprise your opponent by hopping back up. And by your opponent, I clearly mean Rocky. What do you think?
You know, I didn't expect this part to happen.
I sure didn't either.
I think I'm gonna risk it and use it.
Okay, great. All right, so tell us your half-orc's name.
Anivil Ratkama.
Right, so Anivil hits the ground, and Rocky sort of nods. He's a bit more stoic, right? I don't think he would like throw his arms up and celebrate. Yeah, I think he's just sort of... Yeah. So he sort of nods at what he thinks is the conclusion of the fight, and then all of a sudden Anivil hops back up, and what would you like to do as your action?
Oh, I like to swing at him.
I feel like that's probably wise. Yeah, go ahead and make an attack roll.
Yeah. All right. 19 to hit.
Rocky's a 19 hit you?
Oh, absolutely.
All right, so go ahead and roll that damage.
For my unarmed strike, it just says 4 damage.
All right. So 4 damage as she gets a good right hook in on Rocky, but Rocky's able to sort of shake that off. And of course, the crowd cheers when they see Anivil get back up from the ground, because they all thought that this fight was a rather short one and an uneventful one, but always one for the dramatics. The 5 of you, we continue on. So, Syl, you see Ani. You're not super surprised. You've seen this before. She's just hopped back up. What are you doing as the fight continues and thrown for both of our 2 friends here?
I'm like, come on, Annie. I've got so much cold writing on this, and I'm hoping that me yelling out and drawing attention.
The bookie's supposed to encourage one side or the other, but then again, it is still so.
I mean, true. And I'm hoping that draws Theron's attention away. And while he does, I really would like to try and ruin the braid that he's just done to Rowan Tear.
Oh, but it was so good. All right, let's see. Why don't you make a charisma performance check for us to see how distracting you are to Theron?
Okay. Charisma performance check. That's a 21.
Oh goodness! All right, so Theron, I think you probably do look over just to sort of see what has so enthralled your friend Syl. And why don't you make now, Syl? Why don't you make us a dexterity sleight of hand check as well to see how quickly you can get in and muss the braid, the beautiful braid?
That would be an 18.
An 18. All right. So the braid is still intact because it was a damn good braid. The braid is still intact, but it's not quite as tight as it was before. And you sort of pull back just as Theron turns back, and they sort of look at their braid. And well, actually, Theron's up next. So what does Theron have to say about this?
How did you get your braid so messy already? I swear, just stop the bouncing. Stop the bouncing.
Ow! Ow!
You have a twig in it. Do you have a twig? Just let me get it. I'm going to have to start over now.
Rowan, what are you doing to your braid? God.
Really nice touch tossing that twig in there, Sil. All right, so Theron tries to get Rowan to settle down so they can fix the braid. Rocky, we are on to you, and it seems that Ani's not quite done. So
as she gets back up, I'll kind of give a little spurt as I spit out a little fleck of blood in my mouth. So see, you've got to keep your arms up. You got to block. But that was a good follow through. And I'm going to try and launch another a back fist right to her temple.
Oh boy.
Yeah. The first that's going to be a 9.
A 9. I think that one misses you, Ani, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Right. And then I'll follow it up with a reverse punch.
Okay.
And that one's a 14.
So 14 get you?
Yep. Does.
All right.
Okay. So you're a little overconfident. You took his advice. You had your guard up. You had your block up. You managed to dodge out of the way of the first punch, but caught you on the backswing.
Mm-hmm.
I can't imagine you're going to do less than 1 damage. So I think this time, for good and true, our lovely half-orc maiden drops to the ground. And immediately Sil is swarmed with patrons of the Yawning Portal who bet one way or the other. Let me actually now have perception checks from the 4 of you that are not currently lying unconscious in the middle of the arena. And let's go ahead and start with Theron for that perception.
That's a 17.
Okay, Rowan?
13.
Okay, Rocky? Oh, did I miss it, Rocky?
I think he's muted.
Oh,
sorry, that's my bad.
That's okay.
Yeah, so I was too busy making sure that Annabelle didn't hit her head on the ground when she went down. So I had a natural 1 on that.
Okay. There is life outside the arena.
Not in this moment.
Not in this moment. And Sil, how about you?
I got a 15.
Okay. So Sil and Theron, you both notice something as Sil, you just barely are able to sort of hear the commotion, and the only reason you do is because it's so very close to you. Right behind you, and Theron, you're sort of across the way a little bit, but you spot it happening. But right behind you, you hear a commotion, Sil, and you hear a sort of gruff voice that is sort of just yelling incoherently at first from a little ways away, but begins to approach your think for a moment that maybe they're actually coming for you, but you realize they're not when the voice stops and you hear this voice behind you yell out, "Ah, you pig, you like killing me mates, does ya?" And just as you turn around, you see this enormous another half-orc, apparently there are a lot of them tonight in the portal, 7-foot-tall half-orc is hit by a wild swinging punch from a male human who apparently thinks very highly of his martial prowess going after this half-orc. The human's head, you notice, is shaved and covered with eye tattoos. And you realize that maybe his bravery comes a little bit from the 4 other humans that are standing behind him, clearly ready to jump in and hold down this half-orc female that's just gotten sucker punched. But she sort of shakes off the punch. She cracks her knuckles, she roars, and she leaps at this human. And chaos just sort of erupts. So we are going to press on with the initiative order here at this point. Currently, just Sil and Theron realize what happens, but the ruckus that has been caused has caught all of your attention, except for Ani, who's still unconscious on the ground. Let's see, who just took their last turn? It was Rocky, right?
Yep.
All right, so Rowan, you notice a big commotion coming from near Sil, but you're not really sure what happened.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of distracted, and of course my hair is still being braided, so that's probably going to limit my freedom of movement of my head. But I'll try to turn real quick and probably get my hair pulled in the process, which you know. But then is Annabelle awake again, or is she just completely passed out?
Not at the moment. She's not in danger of dying. We were, you guys have done this before. This is a frequent thing that you folks do here at the portal, and so they both know well enough to not strike lethally. So she's just unconscious, but she's going to be down for a while, barring any healing or attention.
Okay. Well, then I'll not thinking that anything is wrong yet. I am just going to start packing up my stuff.
Absolutely. All right. So packing it up, making sure that it's all nice and compact so you can get out of here. Let's hop on over to, well, Annie's unconscious. So we're going to hop back up to Syl. And this commotion has just erupted behind you.
So right behind me is some form of a fight that's going on.
Yeah, and not one that you're getting paid for.
Okay. And it erupted because of the fight that we were watching, or just seemed to
No,
erupt?
it seems totally unrelated. You had noticed the half orc behind you before, watching with interest, because of Ani in the ring. And then, you'd turned away because she'd placed her bets or whatever. And then you turned around as you heard that human screaming and just watched him sucker punch this half orc. Didn't seem to have anything to do with anything going on.
All right. Well, I am going to go over to the human and see if I can perhaps grab him by the scruff and pull him back and just be like, listen, the both of you.
So you sort of push through some of the patrons that have gotten between you and the fight proper, and you realize that by the time you get there, this half-orc has pinned that human down to the ground. She is on top of him and ready to just beat him bloody. So you can certainly try and go for him, but there's a great big half-orc on top of him at the moment.
Okay, well then I will just go, listen, darling. I'm not quite sure. Don't get me wrong. Humans, not the greatest ally for my taste either. But seriously, if you really, really want to get in trouble with the god over this puny thing, come on, let's have a drink instead.
All right, I like it. Make me a charisma persuasion check.
Okay.
Nice high DC because they're going at it, but not impossible. What'd you get?
Persuasion.
Yes.
I got a 14.
So that is enough to distract the half-orc for just a moment as she hears you speaking. So she sort of turns to look at you. But unfortunately, that gives the human a bit of an opening, and he gets one arm loose and manages to give her another punch, which just enrages her. And so she turns back and raises a fist ready to pummel.
Well, you just deserve whatever you're getting now.
I'm not sure I disagree, but we're going to move forward. All right, so it is the combatants' turn. This half-orc just goes to town beating on this human. A couple of his human friends try and get in and pull the half-orc off of him, but she manages to throw them off, at least for the moment, because only two of them were able to get close enough to get to her. The other two were sort of hindered by all of the other patrons of the Yawning Portal sort of clamoring to watch what's going on. So she throws off the two human companions of this one underneath her and just goes to town on him. Theron, you also saw what was happening over there. What are you doing?
I have to. I know I have to back up Syl. I really don't want to get involved, but I'll go over anyway and just try and push one of the humans attacking the half-orc.
All right, so you're a little bit further away, so it takes a lot more work for you to sort of make your way through the crush of people that are trying to watch. You can just get up there on this turn to sort of see what's going on, and you can get to one of the humans that didn't quite make it into the fray at this point.
Okay. I don't have much strength, so if I get to attack... So I just make it. Do I get to try and do a push aside? Mostly
sure,
just
yeah, absolutely. So make an athletics check.
Yay, 10.
Okay. They got a 17. So you try and shove, but it's just like shoving on a stone wall. But they do sort of turn to you and look confused. Like, what is your business and all of this? Like, why are you? What's happening?
This is not the scheduled fight.
I love it. A creature of order, that Theron. Rocky, how about you? You see that there's some sort of commotion going on. It's a little harder for you to get a good bead on it because you are down a little bit inside the fighting arena.
Mm-hmm. Then some tussle's going on. I'm tempted to ask for like an insight if I know that this is going to be a rumble or...
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll buy that. Give me a wisdom insight check to sort of get a read on the room as a whole.
That is a... 15.
Yeah, so, I mean, on the one hand, like, remember, many of the patrons of the Yawning Portal are adventurers, right? So they're no strangers to scuffles. That said, like, you also have seen this sort of thing happen before, and usually it doesn't turn out into like a full bar brawl. If it looks like it's going that way, you've seen the proprietor, a friend of Theron's named Durnan, sort of break things up before things get too out of hand. So in terms of like the danger of it expanding too much beyond the people that are involved right now, it should be okay.
Right. Okay. Well, in that case, knowing that if it does spread, the worst kind of way to be is unconscious, I'm going to try and rouse Annabelle.
Okay, cool. Make me a wisdom medicine check.
Sure.
Not really quite how that works, but we'll make it work for now.
That's a good old 5. It turns out slapping someone who's unconscious doesn't really help.
Right. Yeah, funny enough, it doesn't quite work as well as you'd hoped. So at the moment, unfortunately, Ani is still down for the count. Rowan, you've seen now Theron sort of leave your hair and head over to whatever's going on. What are you doing?
I will turn around and I will look at what, kind of take it in as quickly as I can. And I will say to Theron, who's going up there and obviously trying to defuse the situation, I will say, Theron, I really appreciate how you're trying to be a peacekeeper, and I think that that's extremely admirable in this sort of situation. And I will give him inspiration.
I love it. All right, so Theron, you've got a d6 that you can add to a roll in future turns. Very nice. All right. Oh, sorry, Ani.
All right.
Anyway, okay.
Back up to Syl. So you've seen this fight just sort of escalate, right? And place the blame where you want, but it doesn't look like it's going to end. Durnan doesn't seem too concerned at this point. You sort of risk a glance over to the bar where he is, and he is, polishing a glass, a tankard, and doesn't seem particularly interested in what's going on, because at this point, like I said, it hasn't sort of escalated beyond these people. So for the moment, what are you going to do?
Well, I did my best, and that human was just a dick. So what I'm going to do is kind of just use the ruckus a little bit to my advantage, and maybe pick the pocket of one of the humans. Because,
I love it.
I mean, I just lost 2 gold.
Yep,
so
that's right.
I'd like to get a little bit back. I assume there's somebody around me that perhaps is definitely the attention is pulled.
Yeah, so do you want to go for one of the humans that is trying to help the guy that punched the half-orc?
Oh, yes.
Oh, definitely. Okay, so go ahead and make me a dexterity sleight of hand check, and considering everything that's going on, I'll give you advantage on that.
Okay. That's better. That's much better.
Good.
Oh, God. All right. 23.
23. Okay, yeah. So you managed to reach into this human's pouch without any trouble and sort of grab a handful of coins. There's a silver piece and about 5 coppers in there. So he didn't have a ton with him, but you grab a little bit and managed to secret it out without him noticing.
I just robbed the poorest person in here.
But hey, every little bit counts, right?
Just a bit. All right, cool. I believe that's it.
All right.
And I'll just kind of move away. I'll just use my movement to kind of walk around and maybe stand behind the next human.
Okay, great.
Just maybe.
Fantastic.
And you said 1 silver, 4 copper?
1 silver, did I say 4 copper? Sure, yes, 4 copper.
Sure.
All right, fantastic. So it's now the combatants' turn. They're still going at it, and this human is looking like he is the worse for wear. He has yet to be able to get this half-orc off of him, a combination of her strength and her just sheer size. But now a few more of the humans have managed to make it in towards her, and now they're starting to pull her off of her after she gets a few more sucker punches in. So things look like they might soon turn. The tide may soon turn now that all 5 of the humans are going after this half-orc. Theron, what are you doing?
I would like to lie.
Okay, tell me more.
I want to just kind of just yell at as loud as I can. Dunnan's on his way. Is it really worth getting banned from this establishment forever over something so stupid?
I love that. Go ahead and give me a charisma deception check.
And I will use my inspiration. Excellent.
Absolutely.
That is 22.
Okay. So the two humans that finally made it into the fight, since they're the closest to you, they hear that and they sort of look around, and from their position in the fight, they can't see Dernan's bar, so they can't see whether or not you're telling the truth or not, but they look to each other and they kind of nod, and they they're trying to make sure that they're like boss man who's getting beaten up by the half-orc doesn't notice, but they step away, clearly like very concerned about the idea of being banned from this establishment, because like all the drinks, and we know that Dernan serves a good mead. The other two humans that are currently like have arms on the half-orc, they don't go anywhere, largely because they're sort of afraid of turning their back on the half-orc, but they are distracted enough that she managed to sort of wrest loose from them. So it definitely did help her out a little bit, even if it didn't scare them off. Well done, Theron. Rocky.
Mm-hmm. While this maelstrom is kind of going on in the background, he's just going to be kind of crouched over Annie. Just like, Annie. Annie. And having been unresponsive last time, I'm going to try and grab a flagon of something and splash it in her face to wake her up.
Absolutely. And that immediately has the effect of waking her up. She doesn't feel great, but she is finally conscious, soaked. You can let us know in a moment how you feel about being soaked with beer. But she is definitely conscious. Excellent. Rowan.
Well, I am going to support Theron's little deception by casting Minor Illusion to make it sound like the proprietor of the bar is like turning around and starting to pay attention, like, hey, what's going on over there? Or is there some extent, like real close to their ears?
Excellent. So, I love that. Yeah, absolutely. And you've been around enough. Minor Illusion. You've been around enough that like you do a pretty good Dernan too with that spell. Absolutely. And this was near the humans that have not fled yet, right?
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. So they're going to, well, we'll deal with that on their turn. But they definitely hear it, and they definitely look at least a little surprised and startled and not real thrilled about the turn of events.
And then I will use the table for cover.
Yes, 100% you do. Annie, you are with us.
Okay. Did I win?
Not this time, Annie.
Oh.
Maybe next time. And he'll put out his hand to kind of help you pull you up.
I take it, get up, and kind of get off any of the rest of the beer that's on me still.
Yeah. All right, so up you get. You see that there's some sort of fracas going on. It was just half your move to get up. So anything else you want to try and do on this turn?
Can I tell that Sill's over there?
Go ahead and make me a perception check. Let's see.
Oh, this should be great. Oh, not that bad, actually.
All right.
17.
17, yes, you definitely see Syl over there, and you can sort of see that she's being real furtive about something. You don't see what she's doing, but like she looks, considering the like chaos that's going on, like she looks very still.
But she's closest to like the ruckus, kind of. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. In that case, I'll look at Rocky and be like, we might need to go enforce some things. Syl might have gotten herself into trouble again. Let's go, and I'll start moving that way.
I love that her assumption is that it's Syl's fault.
Well, we've been friends for a while, so I know what she does.
Clearly. I love it. All right. So, Syl, we're back to you.
All right. So, ruckus is still happening, yeah?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Although right now it really does. So two of the humans have to choose my words carefully. Two of our humans have gone away, and two of them are looking sort of uncertain about the situation. The two main ones, though, the half-orc and that main human, well, mostly the half-orc. The main human is like not looking good, but they're still going at it.
Then I would like, if I may,
Mm-hmm.
to use thaumaturgy.
Absolutely.
And let's see.
So many choices.
I
What does
know.
it do with them all?
I think I would like to make my voice boom
Okay, great.
and just yell, "Enough!
All right.
This is boring."
This is boring. I love it. Okay, so it is their turn now. So first, let's check and see on the two humans that Rowan used the minor illusion on. Let's see. Oh, that one, yes. Yeah, so they are like, no, you're right. I want to be able to drink here in the future. So they scarper off to parts unknown of the bar. And you do, since you're watching them, Rowan, to see how effective your spell is, you sort of notice that they sort of run off to one corner of two humans that came in that have already run off. So the four of them are over there. Then Sill's booming voice calls out, and it's it's sort of that moment. I'm blanking on what, I think it's like a Disney movie, but I'm blanking on which one. Like, so this half orc like has the human like in her hands, and she's just like punching him, and both the human and the half orc like turn to look at you, Sill, and as the half orc is looking at you, she like gives one last punch to the human, who falls to the ground unconscious.
That was tangled.
Was it tangled?
I'm just sitting there with like my arms crossed, just tapping my foot, going.
She looks a little sheepish, but like also not, because this guy just sucker punched her. So like, she's not
fair. I mean,
right.
It's one of those things where I'm just like, he's learned his lesson, I believe, darling.
Right. She sort of looks down at him and looks back at you and nods and lets him go. And at this point, we can drop out of initiative for the moment. Yes, Sil.
Mulan. It was Mulan.
Apparently, It was all of them.
It was Mulan, and it was when they were fighting, and then they.
Oh, you're right. In like the warrior camp. Yes, it's the two like sidekick.
And then he punches him over time. And who started it? He did.
I was thinking the cuddly duckling scene from Tangled.
Oh, there's so many good choices. Now I'm gonna go watch a Disney movie when we're done. All right, so we'll drop out of initiative for the moment, so you can all sort of tell me what you're doing. At this point, though, the half orc sort of stands up, dusts herself off, spits on the human, and turns to you and looks a little bit ashamed, but again, like sort of not really, but also like maybe a little put out that you like interrupted the fight, but clearly she was about to win anyway. So she sort of nods and thanks you for sort of settling things down.
I just give her a little wink.
She looks a little taken aback, but stammers, yeah. What are the other... actually, let's check on the two that were in the arena. So Rocky and Ani, you guys were heading in that direction. Tell me.
Yeah, so as Ani starts heading off towards Sil, they go, hey, you need to be careful. You took a lot of big hits there. You got back up. I like that, but you're wobbling a little bit.
I don't know what you're talking about. It's fine. There's just two people over there. There's two Sils. We need to figure out what the problem is.
She says as she wobbles.
Yeah. There are many more than two people. I'm worried about your eyesight.
It's fine. Yeah, she's seeing double vision right now, so she thinks it's two Sils.
I'm gonna have so much fun with this.
Really good. All right, so you all head that way. How about you, Theron and Rowan?
I'm going to be going over to the individual who just got knocked out by that nice female half orc, and I'm going to see if he's like really hurt, because he might have a concussion too. And
sure.
Just kind of, I'll get out my healer's kit, which probably takes a little bit to fish out. But once I do, I'll start just heading over that way.
Okay, great. So as you head over that way, you'll get to him. Actually, go ahead and give me a wisdom medicine check. Yes, I know.
I get a 16.
Oh, all right. So he's not going to die. He is definitely going to remember this fight for a while, but he's not in any danger of dying. He's bloodied, beat up pretty good. And as you get there and sort of do this first like cursory examination, you notice that his 4 friends are sort of like trying to like unobtrusively make their way through the crowd towards him.
Well, if I can like wake him up, then I'll just start kind of giving him not exactly a lecture. It's way nicer than that, but just kind of like you should take this as a moral lesson.
Fantastic. I love it. Theron, how about you?
Theron's just tapping their foot on the ground, just looking over at Annie, bleeding and bruised, just going, I'm not healing that. No, I'm not healing that. They decided to fight. This was their choice. I'm not healing neither of them. No, not tonight. No.
Excellent. I love it. All right. So, as you tend to him, Rowan, his friends get there and they sort of wave you off. They're a little gruff with you and sort of wave you off and start to just drag his barely conscious body towards the door. And you look over and you see Durnan sort of waiting for them at the door, arms crossed with one finger pointing. Just, without saying out, he is very clearly saying out.
I told you.
I was hoping to ask them about their tattoos. Those are so neat.
So you could sort of call that out to them, and they sort of seem to get a little nervous about it, and pull him even more out. Why don't you give me, Rowan, an intelligence Waterdeep knowledge check, which is a check that I have added to your sheet on D&D Beyond, because D&D Beyond is awesome, and that's a thing I can do.
I get a 21.
A 21. Okay, you've seen things like this before, and in particular, the arrangement of the tattoos on this human's head. You realize that they must be members of the Xanathar's Guild.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so for those of you unfamiliar, the Xanathar's Guild is the closest thing to a sort of established thieves guild here in Waterdeep. The code legal in Waterdeep is pretty strict and swift to justice, so thieves guilds aren't really tolerated, but the Xanathar's Guild is sort of the closest thing to one. And with that role, Rowan, you know that you've been hearing sort of stirrings lately, that the Xanathar's Guild has been active lately and has been causing trouble around the city quite a bit lately. So you're sort of not entirely surprised to see them here causing more mischief.
Well, hopefully he will learn from this experience.
Absolutely. Great. So at this point, you all hear screaming. And this is now the 3rd time that loud noises have sort of come as a group here in the Yawning Portal. The first was when Ani got knocked down the first time. The second one was when the fracas started with the half-orc and the human, but now these are coming from the ground floor, and they're coming from right near where the tavern gets its name, from the Yawning Portal. In the center, again, if you're not familiar, in the center of this tavern is a great big well that leads down 100+ feet into the legendary dungeon of Undermountain. And adventurers can come to the Yawning Portal and pay a fee to be lowered down and try their hand at Undermountain, though it is a deadly and storied dungeon that is certainly not for the faint of heart or the inexperienced. And that is where you hear some patrons just begin to scream. And you know that if there is surprised and shocked patrons in the Yawning Portal that are reacting that way, it can't be good. Let me have perception checks from the 5 of you at this point, please. I'm loving all of your faces who are familiar with what the Yawning Portal is, just being really upset about this turn of events. Let's start this time with Theron.
7.
Okay. You just really want all of the nonsense to end. That was Theron. Rocky.
17. A little more aware this time.
Rowan, how about you?
1. I'm pulling out papers and making sure I jot all this stuff down about the Xanathar's Guild, because otherwise I'm just kidding.
Absolutely. Ani, how about you?
18.
All right. And Sil?
13.
13. All right. So Rocky and Ani, you guys are the closest ones to it because the fighting pit is not super far from the Yawning Portal. So you two are the closest, and you see Well, you see something really strange, actually. So what you see, you realize what has caused these patrons to start screaming, which is that climbing out, clawing its way up, and climbing out of the portal is this horrible, long-limbed, clawed, green-skinned creature that you identify immediately as a troll. And it's not common, but it does happen that creatures from Undermountain will make their way up through the portal and into the tavern. And as if that wasn't bad enough, this troll is just covered in these horrible, like, red bird or bat-like looking creatures that you all also can identify as the blood-sucking sturges. And a couple of them detach themselves from the troll as it reaches the top of the portal and begin to fly about the room. But then what's really strange is that people are freaking out. Some adventurers are pulling their swords. A couple of them light torches and head towards the portal. Many of them do the exact opposite and back up because a troll ain't no joke. But as you watch, you sort of turn to each other and you turn back. And the weirdest thing happens. The troll and the sturges seem to flicker almost. And we in real life as people would sort of recognize it almost as like static or like a glitch, right? But your characters just sort of see the troll and the sturges flicker and then they're gone. And all of the adventurers that are there that were ready to fight just sort of like, you know how that adrenaline goes and they're sort of ready and they're amped up and they're not sure if it's really gone, or a couple of them sort of move forward and like poke at where the troll was to see if maybe it's gone invisible or something. But as far as any of them can tell, they're just gone.
Rocky, I know you hit me a lot there, but did that...
I'm so happy it was you. I didn't even think about it.
Did that just like was there was a troll, right? Like, I mean, and then that.
Well, can I look around?
Oh, yeah.
If I... Oh,
sorry,
go ahead, Jonathan.
I think I seen it, but you hit me pretty hard too. I mean, I saw something. You saw something?
Yeah.
I think there was something.
Okay. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what to do now. Hey, but. Where's Seal of that row with that? Someone? Anybody else see that? Yeah, anybody? All right.
So some of the adventurers that moved away but that are near you, a few of them also saw it, so they sort of nod. But any experienced adventurer has seen some strange things, so it was weird. But most of them are willing to just sort of shrug it off as part of drinking at the yawning portal.
Can I look around to see if possibly I can see if there was a source of somebody possibly trying to cast something or anything like that? Or
yeah, so you didn't actually catch sight of the troll sort of flickering like that, but you definitely get the sense that something weird happened and the screaming has stopped. So why don't you go ahead and just make me a general wisdom perception check, and let's see if and what you notice.
Nothing. I don't see nothing.
All right. Things are still sort of calming down. You're sort of coming down off of it.
I got a 3.
No, yeah. You have a hard time sort of figuring out what's going on at the moment. So Theron and Rowan, anything from you guys at this point?
I will be running over to Silme and I'll be like, did you see that? That was so crazy. The fight, and then they had tattoos on their head, and I think it was totally Xanathar's guild.
I love this little halfling so much.
And I just reach down and I just muffle his hair so much.
Aww.
Thanks for messing up my braid.
I just,
oh no!
My armor. And they just
thank you so much.
Go,
yeah,
you're perfect.
Sil.
Yeah. Oh no, it's ruined. I'm so sorry.
Let's make a charisma deception check, Rowan.
I get a 22.
Holy shit. All right. Well, he really does seem sorry.
I'll get you later on tonight then. What was all that screaming?
That sounds great.
I heard someone yell something, but I'm tired. I'm done. I
love it. Ani and Ani and Rocky. This is all very strange. You're still sort of looking in that direction. Most of the adventurers who had gone up to fight are sort of beginning to calm down a little bit and disperse. You notice a human heading right for the two of you. Not threateningly, just like coming like is interested and really wants to talk to the two of you. And so he comes up, and let me have, from the two of you, let me have intelligence history checks, please. See if you recognize this individual. Ani, let's start with you.
14.
Okay, and Jonathan. Sorry, I'm looking at the video. Rocky.
That's a 10.
Okay. So Ani, he looks vaguely familiar. You've seen him around the Yawning Portal before, and you think he might be some minor celebrity because sometimes he like has people come up to him or whatever, but you don't really recognize him. It doesn't take long, however, for him to make it to you and to introduce himself, and you do recognize the name as soon as he said it. He sort of sweeps, he adjusts his floppy hat, tightens his scarf, sketches a small little bow to you, and says, Volo Gedarm, chronicler, wizard, and celebrity at your service. I wonder if I might have a word with the two of you, and perhaps your tree friends as well.
All right.
You want to have a word with us? And then?
He says, yes, well, I've noted you the last couple of times you fought here, and it seems you're both quite skilled, and don't think I haven't seen your other friends. They have some tricks up their sleeves as well, and, well, I happen to, and he sort of, as animated as he was a moment ago, he sort of brings it down for a moment. He says, well, I have need of some assistance, and I think the five of you might be just the thing I need.
Sure. I mean, sure.
So he sort of asks you to collect your friends and shows you where his table is, and he says, "I'll get us a round of drinks, shall I?"
Yeah, let's blow the froth off a few. That sounds great. I'm just gonna yell for the others. I'm just gonna say, "Yo, hey, guys, we got this. Yeah, this guy, celebrity." I actually, I just forgot his name again. It's fine. Yeah.
He hears that and he goes, Volo Gedarm.
Yeah, did you all hear that? Volo? Yeah, that guy.
No way!
Yeah. Rowan, but yeah.
Oh my gosh! I'm like,
Darren,
bolting.
always hanging around somewhere, aren't you?
Before you can even finish saying all of that, Rowan is there.
Mm-hmm. I was just impressed that Rowan was able to get that like 4-foot vertical to go above the crowd, and then
I just pick him up, just like walk
No,
with
no,
him.
no, 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 no.
No.
Please stop, please stop.
No, we will not be picking up Rowan. All right, so without any objection, the five of you gather at this table. By the time you all manage to get over there, drinks have been delivered. Those of you who want to take a sip of them do, and can immediately identify that this is not exactly the cheap stuff, but also not the nice stuff. And Volo once again introduces himself. Clearly, this is a thing he does, and he says, Volo Gedarm, chronicler, wizard, and celebrity at your service. He says, I thank you all for coming and speaking to me right now. He says, I trust you've noticed the violence in our fair city these past few 10 days. He says, I haven't seen so much blood since my last visit to Baldur's Gate. He smiles appreciatively. I don't care how fake that was. He appreciates a good audience. So he sort of nods at you.
Rowan is like holding his quill and his paper and trying to figure out how he can ask for an autograph in this conversation.
Oh, he doesn't even need to be asked. Like, you might have been taking notes, and he still is like, oh, of course, lad. And he takes your quill and autographs it. Like,
Thank you.
Great big old John Hancock.
What is this, like, Scottish, like, Lockhart?
Something like that.
My sister's going to be so jealous.
So he says, anyway, I feel that I have misplaced a friend among this odious malevolence. he again sort of like every time he starts his introduction, like it is clearly a practice thing for him, and he's very animated. But again, like he did before, he takes it down a little notch here as he sort of starts talking about this, and he says, "You see, my friend's name is Floon Blagmar. He's well, I'm afraid he's got more beauty than brains, bless him, and I worry that he took a bad way home a couple of nights ago, and he might have been kidnapped or worse.
Oh no.
If you I'm terribly sorry. If you agree to track him down with all due haste, I can offer you 10 dragons apiece right now, right here on the spot, and I'll give you each 10 times that when you find Floon. Might I please prevail upon the 5 of you in my hour of need?
Well, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm definitely going to help you.
Oh, you said 10 dragons, yeah? Yeah,
says-
yeah.
And did you say 10 times that if we find him?
He says, absolutely. Just find my friend and bring him back safely if you would.
And I mean,
Well,
I'm usually good at finding somebody. I'm in, darling.
if you trust him, Rowan, I'll help.
Oh, there is no one who is more trustworthy.
Those of you who know
Rockabilly is
anything
every
about
word of
Volo.
it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do I believe that? Do I believe that?
You can. Well, okay. So there's 2 different ways we can go about this. Let's start with make me an intelligence history check, Sil.
Rowan tends to exaggerate sometimes, particularly when he's excited.
Right. Also, though, like, does Rowan believe it? Because, like, maybe he does. I don't know.
He doesn't know, and he just
Okay,
kind of says it because he's
sure.
trying to make a good impression.
Totally. What'd you get on your check?
That would be a 21.
Okay, so no.
It's just like I
Volo,
know him. And
Yeah.
So
while a prolific writer is not necessarily always the most trustworthy of sources of information. Knowing
I'm
that,
just
why
looking
don't
at
you also make me a wisdom insight check, Sil?
oh shit. Inside 12.
Yeah, as far as you can tell, he's honest. He was maybe a little squirrely about the 10 times as much part, but like he's definitely, and he's starting to pull out like small little coin purses that seem like they do in fact have the 10 gold dragons in them each. He was maybe though a little squirrely about that 10 times as much payment on the return of his friends thing.
I just take it and I kind of just side eye him a little bit.
Yeah, so as you take that first bag, he begins then handing them out to the 5 of you and clearly takes that as acceptance and just like heaves a sigh of relief. Rowan, what'd you get?
What I get on what?
Oh, no, sorry. I thought you were going to say something.
Oh, no. I just thank you. And thank you.
Yeah, so he passes out the gold and just thanks you all very much and says, I appreciate it. And like I said, I don't know what's happened to him. So the sooner you can get him back to me, the better. He says, he describes Floon to you guys to you folks, so that you know what you're looking for. He describes him as a handsome human male in his early 30s with wavy red blonde hair. He sort of tells you a little bit about what he was wearing the last time that Volo saw him, which was just 2 nights past. The last time that Volo saw him, the 2 of them were at the Skewered Dragon, which let's see. Some of you work or live in the dock ward, right? Yeah, so any of you that work down there or live down there have heard of the Skewered Dragon. It's a pretty dark and like bawdy tavern, a little bit of a seedy place. Definitely slightly lower on the totem pole than the Yawning Portal down in the dock ward. But that was the last place that Volo saw him 2 nights ago.
So he's a handsome human, early 30s. How tall? Average.
Taller than Volo. Volo's pretty short, so taller than Volo. If you ask him specifically, he sort of indicates probably about 5'9", 5'10", something like that.
Okay. With wavy red blonde hair.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Perfect.
well dressed, he says.
Mhm.
So as Volo sort of finishes this information, he sort of looks to each of you and thanks you again and sort of says, I'm sure you can find me here once you've recovered poor Floon. And I can't stress enough the haste. I'm so very worried about him.
Well, I don't see why we can't just get started right away. Is that all right? Does anyone else have anything to do right now?
Well, I believe
just
we
some
should.
blood.
We should get some more information before we go out of the door, right? We know the place they were, but who else was there? Was there anyone who would have wanted poor Floon to be harmed?
Volo says, I can't imagine that there would be. He's a kind soul. As I said, he's not particularly bright, but he's an endearing soul. I can't imagine anyone would wish him harm. He says there were others at the Skewered Dragon, but it was just the two of us drinking. I haven't seen him since I left that night.
Who else was there?
He says, several patrons. He said none that I was familiar with. I'm sure there are some regulars there. Perhaps you could go to the tavern and ask.
Did you part ways outside of the tavern, or was he still drinking and you left?
He said, Volo says, no, I had to go. And he perks up a little bit at this, although clearly he's very upset about his friend, but he does perk up a little bit and he says, I needed to get to work on a new piece I'm writing. It's a new Volo's guide that I'm working on right now.
Do you care to share any hints?
He smiles and gives you a little side eye and he says, well, I'll just share the working title with you. He says, this one's to be called Volo's Guide to Spirits and Specters.
Ooh, that sounds fantastic.
I look at Volo and go, well, you're a well-to-do person. I've been to the Skewered Dragon. Why would somebody so well-to-do be down there?
He again, now you sort of know what you're looking for, and he looks a little squirrely about it, but basically, a little embarrassed actually. But he says, well, you never know where one might get inspiration or hear the call of the muse for a future novel or work.
I don't think he's talking about ghosts. When he's talking about spirits.
Well done.
Aha.
Well, someone is suffering and Ilmater says I should do such assistance as I can. Shall we be off in that direction? What time of night is it right now?
It's probably mid-evening, getting on towards what one might call nighttime, but it's not super late in the night at this point, I don't think.
Okay, so stores are still open. It's not like a city, everything closes at 5.
Yeah. Yes, I think that some might have closed down at this point, but there are definitely still some places open. Taverns are sort of just getting going at this point.
I'll kind of look over at
I'm always game for another round.
What was that, Rocky?
Well, I'll kind of look over at Annie and be like, how are you feeling? Do you need to rest?
I'm fine.
I didn't want to do this, but fine. And I'll give each of them healing touch. So
alrighty.
For Rocky, that's 5, and for Annie, that's 6.
Oh, great. Okay, excellent. And Volo watches you do this, and he sort of nods, and he says, "Yes, I knew you were the 5. I knew that you were the 5 that were going to help me." And he then looks at you, Theron, and he says, "Did you say Ilmater?"
Yes.
He says, he nods, and he says, "It's good that we've got one of the faithful among your party, but maybe don't try and convert good Floon. He's not good with the self-denial and all of that."
It's not for everyone to give up all they have, but it is a decent calling for those who choose it.
He sort of nods sagely, but the effect is somewhat ruined because he just took a big gulp of his tankard. Clearly, Volo is not one for self-denial either.
Just out of curiosity, how many groups did you go to before you came to us?
He looks somewhat surprised at the question and says, "Why none, madam. You all caught my eye quite some time ago to be approached should I ever need anything. As I said, I'd watched you fighting for some time now."
Silme, you're being rude. Be nice to Volo.
I'm gonna kick Rowan under the table.
And I'll completely oblivious to all of that. We'll look over and go, Sil, Ani's getting pretty good. That all makes sense. I mean, makes sense that he'd want to go to us. We're strong.
Yeah, we're very capable. Remember the rats? We were like great against the rats.
Yes, I remember the rats. I'm still cleaning it out of my armor.
That's so gross.
And he like punched one and it exploded.
Yeah. You're right on Silme. That's why it's still in the armor.
I was just on cleanup duty. I didn't see much of it. I was hiding in a drain.
I love this.
I just look over at Theron. I think he got a little bit still. Right there.
Oh, I've had 3 baths already.
Y'all, if we ever need bonus content, we are going back and playing out that rat fight.
Yes.
I guess we're going to another bar.
So do we want to like talk amongst ourselves before we head over? Like figure out like kind of a strategy, or to discuss how we want to go about this.
We have a strategy.
I don't know. Do we not?
Well, I mean, with the rats, I just remember they were like, "Hey," and we were like, "Yeah," and blood and guts everywhere. And,
we can do a walk and talk.
Yeah. I feel like you must have skipped a few steps in there somewhere.
And you're right. That went really well. So yeah, okay. I'm sold. Let's just barge in there.
I mean,
I just want to clap my hand down on Rowan's shoulder and just go, "Okay, all right, calm down. I know you're excited, but you can't keep appearing excited."
I'm sorry. This is really cool. So neat.
Oh,
I know. All right.
I'm sorry. This is just one of the most interesting things that's ever happened to me, and I'll take a few breaths. I'm sorry. Give me a second.
We'll talk about how that's probably the saddest statement you've ever made later. Anyways, are we ready to go and get a drink at a slightly funner place tonight?
Not the first, not the last. And he'll kind of get up.
By the way, both of you just did a really good. I was really impressed by both.
oh.
Are you making fun?
No, I'm not. Like, I thought you were done, and you just popped right back up.
That's right. Poor bed just right back up. Yeah, can't speak right now because of the hits are still kind of affected me. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, I thought it was over.
You're just very good at putting your fists in each other's faces. It's so astounding. The violence.
I'll get up there on Rocky one day and get ahead of the count.
I'll just slap on the shoulder and just go. I'll slap Annie on the shoulder and go. He was complimenting you. Just say thank you very much.
I'm not a heat today.
No,
I could just let you all go. This is
and we're walking, and we're walking, and
welcome.
we're walking.
All right. You making your way?
Yeah. As we walk out, I kind of just elbow Rocky in the side and go, "Did you honestly have to go that hard on her?"
How else is she gonna get better?
Yes.
There's a difference between getting better and going to sleep.
I go to sleep before I get better a lot of times.
Okay, big man. All right. And I just slap him and I just keep walking forward.
Amazing. All right. So, as I said, any of you who live and/or work in the dock ward are familiar with, are familiar with the skewered dragon. So, you can sort of make a pretty direct route from there, from the yawning portal to the dock ward and to the skewered dragon. As you go, sort of right when you get to close to the border of the dock ward, you sort of turn a corner and you're heading down a street, and in a little alleyway, you notice that it's been cordoned off by the city watch. And Syl, before we even get there, you don't recognize any of them. but you just, and it doesn't seem like anything super out of the ordinary at first. You just notice that it's been cordoned off. Let me have wisdom perception checks from everyone, just to sort of get a view of this as you walk by. Let's start with Theron.
12.
Okay. Rowan?
3.
Fantastic. Silme?
16.
Excellent. Annabelle? 18. And Rocky?
Nat 20 for 24.
Fantastic. All right, so Sil and Ani and Rocky can all see past the cordon and past a couple of the watch there, and you see actually there are several, like maybe half a dozen corpses lying on the cobblestones of this alleyway that seem to have been the victim of some terrible skirmish or something going on here. The watch officers look like they've disarmed and arrested 3 just blood-covered humans, and they're in the midst of questioning a few witnesses that are in the area. One of the watch officers that's sort of manning the cordon there turns around to you and notices the 3 of you in particular looking and just sort of shoos you onward and says, get on, nothing to see here. And indeed, like, though it looked particularly bloody, it's not necessarily an unusual sight, especially this close to the dock wards, which are not sort of the safest part of the City of Splendors, one would say. Let's see. I think that Rocky, though, you do notice with that natural 20, you do notice that some of the... Wait, I want to make sure I get this right. Yes. You notice that one of the individuals that's been arrested and stripped of their weapons, you notice a little tattoo on them. And it looks like the image of some sort of a winged serpent or something like that. Why don't you give me an intelligence history check to see if you recognize it?
How's a 6?
You do not, but it is definitely. I mean, you have seen it now, and it's not super obvious or anything, but it's just something that catches your eye as you sort of glance over there.
Mm-hmm.
So. Passing that little whatever it was, you all pass into the dock ward, and just to sort of set the idea, you've come from a much nicer part of town, and in this ward, tall, densely packed tenements leave most of the neighborhood in shadow in this ward down at ground level. Most of the street lamps also, because Waterdeep being a very nice city for the most part that has street lamps that get tended by the Guild of Street Laborers. Here, though, most of the street lamps have had their glass smashed, the candles inside them stolen. Also, the Dung Sweepers Guild clearly doesn't get around to the dock ward super often because this air smells of salt because it's so close to the sea, but also of less pleasant smells. I will let your imagination run wild since I mentioned the Dung Sweepers Guild. So you just pass by row after row of rundown buildings. And eventually you do make it to what you know to be the Skewered Dragon. It looks like a ruin. In fact, if any of you haven't been here before, you're a little surprised that this is where you are meant to be going. Both of its front-facing windows are smashed. There's a ship's anchor lodged in the roof of this establishment. And then through those smashed windows, you can see a group of kind of sad, haggard-looking patrons drinking from huge tankards.
Have queens.
I really like the decor that they're going for here. I mean, it's obviously very niche, but that anchor, that's neat.
Feels like home.
I like the size of those tankards.
Yeah, I bet. You all head in?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. So you head inside, and it's a shittier version of any tavern here in Waterdeep. And as I said, there are several groups of pretty sad-looking patrons drinking from their tankards. It's definitely less boisterous in here, at least for the moment. As I said, it's not super late in the evening, so it might get a little rowdier later, but at the moment, it's at least a little more subdued.
Does anyone look like they're maybe a regular, like they're kind of holding up a side of the bar, or they...
Yeah, good call. Make me a wisdom insight check.
0, because I rolled a 1.
Everyone? No one?
Yeah, okay.
So-
Well,
I'm just going to go to...
Silme is from here. Does she recognize anyone?
That's a good question. Go ahead and make me an wisdom insight check with advantage.
Okay. Insight 18.
Yeah, you don't know any of them personally tonight, but you do recognize a few people that you've seen here in the Skewered Dragon on several occasions.
Okay. So I assume that they're regulars. I would
Yeah.
turn and be like, "Okay, we have a couple regulars in tonight. Do we want to talk to the tavern owner first, or start with the regulars?"
Oh, well, they all look like regulars, so maybe just the first person that's closest. I mean, this looks like the kind of place where you don't come to unless you're a regular, you know?
I will head towards Sobe will head towards one of the actual regulars.
Everyone's either a regular or a regular in the making.
I'll head towards the
They're
barkeeper.
either a stranger or a friend in the making.
That's a wonderful attitude.
I love it. I love it. So who are you? I'm sorry, who are you heading up to? I was too busy coming up with that quip.
Probably like I would just head towards one of the regulars, the actual regulars.
Right.
I choose a bartender.
I'll follow after Silme, although I'll let her take the lead on this because this is definitely way more her situation.
Okay, and Theron and Annie, how about you? Ani, how about you guys?
Following Silme and trying to look very, intimidating.
Okay. Theron?
Bartender.
Oh, bartender, sorry. And Rocky, did you say bartender as well?
I didn't, but that sounds fine.
Okay, great. So Theron and Rocky headed to the bartender, and the other three of you over to one of the regulars. Let's go over to the bartender first. So he sees you two approaching and just sort of like gives you a little like head nod upwards as if, asking for your order.
Rocky, you want to order something?
Of course. I just want something big.
Sorry. He sort of shrugs and pulls out a great big tankard, fills it up with sort of what is probably the first like ale that he puts his hands on, and fills it up and slides it towards you.
I'll pick it up and I'll go, you really shouldn't be too picky. We sometimes won't be able to have this in the future. It's good to be grateful for what you have. And he'll take the big, giant slurp of that.
I love it.
You can have one for me. I'm going to slap a dragon down, slide it forward, and say,
"Whoa.
We just got the tank. We just got paid."
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I just want to get this over with quickly.
Clearly.
I'll be paying for anything he has while we're here. I'm just wondering.
Really? Great.
That's super dangerous.
We're looking for an individual who was here a couple of nights ago, a bit of a dandy here with Volo.
The bartender's eyes are bigger than you would have thought possible at the sight of that dragon, and he is so stunned that he doesn't even this doesn't seem like a person who would let money go unclaimed, but he's so shocked by this dragon that he does for a moment. And then he sort of reaches for it and it just vanishes off the counter. And finally, he sort of remembers that you're there and realizes that you're talking to, and sort of shakes his head and says, sorry, what was it that you needed?
Well, not to insult the decorum here, but a friend of ours was in here a night ago with a friend of theirs named Floon. Had red hair, would look very out of place in here.
He looks like he's about to sort of shake his head, and then he realizes what he's holding in his hand, and he sort of nods and says, yeah, I saw him. Let's real quick cut over to Ani and Sil and Rowan. So you all have headed up to one of the regulars at the bar, and what's happening over here?
So what does this regular look like?
This regular is actually a dwarf, and there aren't a ton of dwarfs in the dragon regularly, but that's sort of why you recognized him so quickly. He has a pitifully short beard for a dwarf, and his clothes are sort of right. He looks like he has definitely fallen on not awesome times, and he also looks like he is probably several drinks in at this point.
Okay. Is he sitting down at like a table?
No, he's at like the far corner of the bar itself.
Okay. I'll walk up to him and I'll kind of just lean on the bar and go, "Hello, darling. You look like you might need a refill." And I'll kind of just raise my hand up and just say, "Another ale over here. Actually, make it 2, please."
And he sort of looks confused. When you say it looks like you need a refill, he looks confused and looks down at his tankard because it's mostly full. But then he really quickly just downs the whole thing and nods at you.
And I just go, so I just wonder if we can have a little talk real quick. I'm looking for somebody. They were in here the other night with a friend of ours. His name is Volo, but his friend Floon was with him, and he seems to have kind of gotten into a little bit of trouble. And I'm wondering if you were in the other night and perhaps had seen him.
He, so as the bartender takes his leave from the other two for just a moment to refill his drink, and he sort of is starting in on this new drink that you've bought him, and he sort of he puts it down and he takes a breath and he says, "Well, miss, you've been right kind to me, so I don't want to lead you astray, but you should know that I don't remember much about most nights, but I can certainly what did you say you were looking for?"
I kind of just like lower my head. I should have known he was drunk in the first place. Did you happen to see a redheaded?
Say the word "seal" and I can sober him up real quick.
No, Ani.
No. He just looks real unsteady and almost like falls off his bar stool for a second.
No. A little cloudy. Eye contact. Look at me, not at her. Look at me. Both eyes.
Much
both
nice
eyes.
to look at and less.
How many of me are there right now? But pick one.
And he sort of puts a hand up like towards you, but a little off to your side, and he like shakes his head and he takes his fist and like bangs himself on the forehead a few times, and then he goes, that's better. Now there's just one of you.
Okay. Did you happen to see Volo the other night?
Which one's Volo?
Short, bit of a nance. Doesn't look like he belongs here at all.
Oh, yeah. He comes in sometimes. Yeah.
And he perhaps had a friend with him. Red hair, tall, very handsome.
Yeah, might be. Yeah. He looks like he's trying really hard. And he reaches for his tankard to take another swig.
I kind of just take my hand and just go, just for a second. Let's stop this for a moment. Did you happen to see if anybody was with him, with the red-haired fellow? Did he leave with anybody?
So he thinks for a minute, and then he sort of gets this weird look on his face. Like he does suddenly remember, and he almost looks happy, right? That he remembered, because he clearly wants to help you. But then whatever he remembered, like he starts to sort of scowl, and he says, "Oh yeah, no, I remember who he was with." Let's hop back over to the other two that are at the bartender. So you asked about Volo and right? You asked about Volo or about Floon?
Both, I think. I asked about a dandy that was with Volo.
All right. So the bartender sort of nods and says, yeah, Volo comes in time to time, and I remember his fancy pants friend with him that one night. What about him?
Volo seems to have misplaced his friend, and it was the last time that he was seen was in here. Was there anyone else who was speaking with Floon at the time that you saw?
He says, I didn't really pay much attention. There was a bit of a scuffle on the other end of the bar, not uncommon in a place like this. I'm sure you understand. But I did see Volo left, and someone else must have come in to have a few drinks with his friend, because I did notice them leave a little while later, and about 5 other gentlemen followed him out of the bar, but I didn't see what happened to him after that.
Oh, well, are there any shops that would have been open around the time of this incident in the immediate area?
He says, "Oh no! By the time Floon, you said his name was, and whoever his buddy was, now by the time they left, it was closing time all around."
And could you describe them for me? The ones who would have followed?
Oh, the ones that followed?
Yes. Did they happen to
dark,
have tattoos on their heads?
He said no. By the time I saw him going, oops, I'm throwing dice. By the time I said, clearly I've been drinking. By the time I saw him going out, they'd pulled up their cloaks, and I didn't really get a good look at him.
Hmm.
He says, but whoever Floon was with looked just like him. I could have mistaken him for twins if I didn't know better.
Is there anyone else who you would say that you know around town who looks like Floon?
He sort of thinks for a minute, and he says, well, there's someone that I could think of, but can't imagine what he'd be doing here in the Dragon.
Well, give me a name, and we can go from there.
He sort of shrugs. Let's hop back to the other 2 that are at the regular. He says, so this guy who all of a sudden looks, this dwarf, all of a sudden looks upset, and he says, yeah, I remember. He was with some dandy, and then that Volo guy, he left, but the dandy stayed, and then you'll never believe who came to drink with him then.
Who?
Oh my, I can't wait.
He says, it was Rainier Neverember. Chip off the old block, thou, on another spoiled, rich noble likes to flaunt his dragons and rub our noses in our nibs.
Oh, yes. Flaunt his dragons. Yeah, that's right. Gold. I forgot.
What happened next?
I don't know. I thought about getting up and giving that Neverember a piece of my taste of mind, but then I forgot to.
Yeah, that's all right.
Was there anyone else with Neverember?
No, I can't imagine anybody here wanting to spend time with that dandy.
Gotcha. And did you see them leave at any point?
He says, and he looks like he's trying so hard to remember.
I know.
And
I believe in you.
Just can't at this point. Why don't the 3 of you who are over there with him? Why don't you go ahead and make me intelligence Waterdeep knowledge checks?
Waterdeep knowledge checks.
Yeah.
Ooh. Waterdeep knowledge checks. Is that like?
It's a skill that I had added to your character sheet on D&D Beyond.
Where?
Should be right at the bottom of your skill list on D&D Beyond.
I had to refresh mine because it wasn't.
I was gonna say, if it doesn't show up, refresh, because it might not have. I might have added it after you loaded the page. Rowan, what'd you get?
Ooh.
I got a 22.
22. All right. How about you, Ani?
21.
All right, and Sil.
23.
Fantastic.
Wow.
So all of you know
I rolled a
all of the
natural
things
19.
about Rainier Neverember. I love it. Okay, so really quickly, a quick rundown for anyone who is not aware. Rainier Neverember is the son of Dagult Neverember, who was the previous Open Lord of Waterdeep. Dagult Neverember, several years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, I guess, headed north to Waterdeep. Sorry, you were in Waterdeep, to Neverwinter, to become the Lord Protector of that ruined city. There was a volcanic eruption, sort of ruined the city. It wasn't good. So he went up there to rebuild and tried to sort of play both cities for a while, remained as Open Lord even while he was up there, sort of trying to rebuild and rule Neverwinter. And it wasn't too long ago that he was ousted as the Open Lord of Waterdeep in favor of Laeral Silverhand, who now runs the city. Or is part of the ruling council of the city, I should say, because of course the masked lords all work in concert with the Open Lord. Anyway, Rainier is his son, and you all rolled well enough that you know that you've heard rumors that Rainier and Dagolt, his father, don't get along super well. They've been estranged for a little while at this point, are according to the rumors. Yeah.
Do I know if perhaps Rainier is into anything nefarious? Have I heard anything?
Not that you've heard. I mean, his father was not super well liked, especially by the people of, like, for example, the dock ward, but also by some of the nobility, right? Like, he was just sort of a generally unpopular guy to a lot of people. So he certainly, I mean, there were all kinds of rumors, and like there were so many, and it's always been hard to tell like how much is true and how much it is just vitriol aimed at him because of, you know, whatever reason. His son, though, definitely has like less rumors about him. He seems, at least compared to his dad, to be a more upstanding type of guy.
Okay.
Yeah, but also like definitely not someone that I think a lot of the people in the dock ward and that you are most comfortable with still would have like crossed paths with.
Gotcha. And do we see a drunken friend? Do we think that we probably have gotten about as much as we can out of his poor brain?
Bless his heart, I think probably so.
Okay, and then I'd like to take out 2 dragons.
Whoa!
Yeah, and I want to slide it across to him and look at him and go, darling, maybe lighten up the drink and use these for something good. Understand?
So you place them in his hands, and he like,
I do.
And it's never cute to watch a dwarf cry, but that's what happens. He just like his eyes well up with tears, and he like clutches them, and then he just like falls over backwards and in a dead faint, clutching the dragons, but like in a dead faint on the ground, just like so completely overcome. At that, let's hop back to the bartender. So the bartender sort of nods and he says, well, I've heard it said that Floon has a passing similarity to old Never Ember's son, but I don't know what he would be doing in a place like this.
There's 3 people who would be unexpected in a place like this. I don't really believe in coincidence.
He says, well, that's your business, but that's all I saw was Floon and whoever it was leaving, and 5 guys leaving not too long after him.
Right. Well, Rocky, are you done drinking your bathtub? Shall we go reconvene with the others?
Slams it on the table, at least mostly empty. And I go, pretty close to done, but I got one question. I know this area's not always been the nicest, but have you found that there's more trouble going on?
He says, I guess I've noticed a bit more ne'er-do-wells running about the streets causing trouble. I try and keep my head down, though. Run this place, toss out anybody that causes trouble, and, like I said, keep my head down.
We passed some guys on the way here who looked, they're messed up pretty good. Some guys, I think they were in cloaks, were walking off. They had a symbol on their arm. Do you know anything about those?
So you describe that symbol to him, and as he describes it, let's go ahead and have Theron, why don't you make an intelligence history check as well, since this is the first you're hearing of it, and I'll make one for the bartender.
19.
So the bartender doesn't, but Theron, you recognize the description as the symbol of the Zentarum, which is a sort of Sword Coast-wide faction that you know has some strong ties here to Waterdeep. They're a band of mercenaries. They have undergone a lot of changes over the years. They're also known as the Black Network. In recent days, you've actually heard of them because at least part of the organization is sort of trying to like clean up their reputation a little bit and sort of move more into sort of the mercenary business and at least be a little more upstanding about their dealings, but they definitely have a sordid past as well.
Thinking back on it, do I remember if there's any bad blood between gangs? Are we looking at the gang warfare?
Yeah, so with that roll, I would say yes. You sort of start putting some pieces together and realize that the increased violence in the streets, a lot of times you've heard, it's either been printed on the broadsheets or you've heard some rumors that the escalation seems to mostly be between members of Xanathar's guild and the Zentarum.
Well, does the Never Ember have affiliation with either one of those that I know about?
Not as far as you can tell, and unless Rainier is really sort of keeping something pretty close to his chest, they're just not the sort of organization that he would be a part of. He's way more likely to be a part of, for example, like the Lord's Alliance, which is more sort of for the outwardly noble and wealthy.
Well, maybe someone was trying to jump him for his wealth and fame. That would be... Well, not that I would ever do such a thing, but if I wished to jump somebody and hold them for ransom, I'd take somebody who had wealth.
The bartender sort of nods and says, I mean, I don't know nothing about any of that, but seems like solid logic to me. At this point, you all hear a thud and a clatter on the far side of the bar, and you see the dwarf go tumbling down. So Syl and... yeah, exactly.
I'll rush over and make sure that he's okay.
Okay. So you rush over and he is fine. He very quickly is sort of coming to. He probably hit his head, but he's a dwarf. They got nice hard heads. He's going to be just fine. But as he begins to come to, his eyes, you notice, Rowan, since you're pretty up close to him, his eyes seem a little clear. Like the knock on the head must have sobered him up a little bit. And he sort of pops up. He pops his head up and looks around, and he looks at Syl, and he just calls out a name. He calls out the name Kazim.
Kazim.
And then he sort of like slumps back into his like drunken stupor.
Okay. Do I know the word? Do I know the name Kazim?
I mean, it's not a super common name here in Waterdeep, but yeah. It's not a super common name here in Waterdeep, but like it's just a name.
Okay.
Syl, that was just the nicest thing that you just did. I'm very proud of you. Now we just got to make sure that he gets home okay.
I'm gonna take the 2 gold and I'm gonna like try and hide it in one of his pockets while he's sleeping, so it's not just in his head.
Oh no, he's totally gonna get shaken down. That's not gonna work.
And I know how to hide. I know how to hide a couple of coins.
Okay, so you're gonna sleight of hand.
Goes a pouch. Yeah.
Reverse pickpocket.
Make sure he can find it. I mean, what's gonna happen? It's just gonna.
He goes to wipe later on tonight and just what?
It's like when he goes to do the laundry, he'll be like, "Oh my god!"
I don't think he does the laundry
very often.
I don't think so either. And I'll kind of just roll him over, so if he vomits, he doesn't choke on it.
Oh, bless! Such a thoughtful.
And just go. I think this one's toast. But it's super strange that. Now look at the other 2. I'd be like, Neverember was here. What would Neverember be doing in a tavern in the Darkwood?
Meeting some seedy contact? Trying to slum it? Is the noble sometimes do?
Yeah, but why would a noble be here? If you're noble, come on, let's face it. You don't go to somebody comes to you. So why was he here? Ani, do you know of anything?
Yeah, nobles aren't any good.
That's fair.
That's insightful.
Especially it sounds like this Neverember. I mean, I think he's up to no good. Yeah.
Yeah. Seems reasonable.
Even if you are noble and they're supposed to come to you, sometimes nobles have to step out of their comfort zone and do a little bit shady dealing. So doesn't sit well with me.
Can I look around and see if anybody has maybe taken any interest in us? DM.
Sure. Make let's call it a wisdom perception check.
Okay. Oh shit. Sorry. It just rolled right off. 14.
14. Well, let's see. Hold on.
We are super interesting.
Yup. There's one individual who is not very good at hiding the fact that he's just like staring at you all openly and listening to you. Still, he's one of the other ones that you thought you had recognized earlier as one of the regulars of the what's the name of this place? Skewered Dragon. Thank you. Jeez. Yeah. Of the Skewered Dragon. And he's just ever since that poor dwarf called out that name, he's sort of been watching you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'd like to just take because I haven't drank out of my tankard, and just walk over to him, sit down, slide it in front of him and go, "So, being a bit nosy, are we?"
He sort of looks down and says, no, just no.
I feel like I've seen you around here before. I don't know if you know, from the Dark World. Wondered if perchance we can take a little bit of your time.
He looks a little nervous, but he sort of nods and reaches for his tankard.
Okay. Volo, have you seen him around any time?
He says, no.
Haven't seen him past few days, perhaps?
He says, no, but I haven't been here as often as I usually am the last few days.
Is he being honest with me?
Make an insight check. Wisdom insight check, sorry.
19. No, 19.
He is being honest about not having been around. There is something, though, that he is not saying.
Come on, darling. We're both from the Dark World. Talk to me. What's going on?
He sort of looks around, and he looks at the fallen dwarf and at the bartender and looks at you. And why don't you make me a charisma persuasion check?
Charisma persuasion. 18.
All right. So he sees the five of you, realizes that like he should probably go ahead and cough up what he knows, and he says, "Well, it's just that if Kazim's involved and you're looking for him, you can probably find him somewhere on Candle Lane."
And who is Kazim?
Woo. He says, "Oh, I don't know him well. I just he and some of his friends. I know that they are known to have a little place down on Candle Lane, one of the warehouses down there." He says, "So if you want to find him, just head down that way. Look for the warehouse with the snake symbol on the door."
Snake symbol. Right. And so you haven't been around, so you haven't seen Volo, and you haven't seen perhaps a handsome friend with him?
He shakes his head and he says, "No, but I would appreciate you not telling Kazim or Volo or his handsome friend that I said anything about anything, if you don't mind."
Darling, as far as I'm concerned, you didn't tell me anything. And I give him a wink.
He melts a little bit and nods and smiles.
And I get up and I walk towards Rocky.
All right.
I will still be back with the dwarf.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll be scribbling on a note, just some guidance and directions that hey, if you have any trouble or you can't find the gold that has somewhere been stashed on you, then come by the porch pot and I'll make sure that you're okay. Signed, Toscapa.
Aww.
Can I just go up to Rocky, and if he's got a tankard in front of him, just slide it away and just finish it?
Do you have a tankard with you, Rocky, at this point?
Sure. I mean, I had that one from earlier.
I think it probably got refilled by now, so yeah.
Sure.
And I just take like a huge swig out of it and then drag it back to him.
I love it.
Well, is that guy giving you problems?
Nothing I couldn't handle.
You would have been
Tell
so
anything.
proud of her. She was so nice to him.
Ani, what are you doing at this point?
Yeah, I was watching over Rowan because it still didn't walk that far away from us, but making sure nobody attacked Rowan while he was
Aw.
diligently writing his note, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh, hurry up, write it faster, please, just
Funny.
move on."
I am a little bit verbose.
Yeah, I was probably like tapping my foot a little bit and getting impatient and
Drawing a little map.
Yep.
oh my gosh,
Yep.
oh my gosh, stop it, Rowan, stop it.
Almost
And then-
done. Almost done.
Okay, yeah. All right, let's go that way. And while when Rocky makes that comment about still taking care of herself, a bit. What am I, chopped liver? I was right there. I had it covered. I had it back. It's fine. But just because you beat me today doesn't mean anything.
She did a magnificent job looming. It was super intimidating. Really, I think
Crack my
helped
knuckles.
the entire gravitas of the entire situation.
Once we left, I'm just gonna say, well, at least we each had to have some muscle of a backup in a place like that, just in
There you
case.
I want to hop in real
Okay.
quick and say thank you to Let's Play 2 for the follow and the cheer. Thanks very much. That's awesome. Welcome. Hope you're enjoying. Sorry, let's carry on.
Phil's head is just in her hands, just shaking, just going, "What is going on?"
Look, I know you're not chopped liver, but bad things can happen to anyone at any time.
Yeah, you don't think I know that? Yeah, I know that. All right.
I just
You
put
want to
my
go?
hand
You can go
on.
here at this bar, Rocky.
Oh my god, Ani!
I know we gotta work on keeping your hands up. I know that. Huh?
Put my hands up. Yeah. What about a little bit lower, Rocky? A little bit south.
Oh,
Not sure what you're referring to, but I think we should probably be moving along.
Goes over his head every time.
So, well, let's pull our knowledge. We've found out that Floon had met up with son of Lord Neverember and left
Yeah.
with five folk followed them out shortly after. when they
Oh, no
left.
way.
So foul play could be a thing, though there were no identifying markers. Don't know where to go from there.
I may have our next move. So we kind of got the same information. We also got a name and a location. Kazim? Has anyone heard of Kazim?
Would that be a knowledge check?
but-
I mean, it's just a first name, so there's not a ton to go on. If you can, gosh, I'm trying to give you something here, but it is just a first name.
Okay.
Like you all probably do know someone named Kazim, but I don't know if it's the right name.
It's the fishmonger.
I'll also
The candlestick.
in the library. I'll also talk about that he has a warehouse on Candle Lane that has a symbol of a snake, and see if maybe the marker does ring any bells.
Symbol of a snake, huh? Does that sound? Did you hear what it looks like? Anything?
I mean, he just said snake. Unfortunately, I assumed. I mean, we can go if you wanted down Candle Lane and look at the warehouse. Maybe the symbol and look for the symbol of the snake. I don't suppose there'd be too many warehouses with snakes on them.
Did you see those guys that we passed coming in? Once it got all roughed up.
I saw them. Right?
Huh?
Yeah.
I think you
rolled
saw.
the-
Yeah, you didn't. Yeah, you didn't notice the tattoo, but you saw.
I didn't
that.
see the
Yeah.
tattoo though.
Yeah.
I saw them, but
Well,
I
yeah.
did. Mr. Natural 20 saw the tattoos.
Well, as one of them was walking away, I saw that they had a tattoo of a snake. Wonder if these might be coincidences, as Theron put it.
The thought plickens, in my opinion.
The thought plickens indeed.
Hey, Rookie. He's not quite how you say that.
He did just drink a water bucket full of ale, the cheap stuff. So.
Well,
Mostly
half.
water,
I got
sure.
half of the next one.
That was my third.
Maybe you should slow down. In case we have to do a whole lot more stuff tonight. You don't want to drink too much, and
I've seen this man drink a house full of ale.
I'm
Nothing
just saying,
can
be
happen.
responsible.
But they already just beat the dung out of each other, and now they're drinking. I think it's going to be on us. So.
Well,
It's a
I guess
aspirin, whatever that is.
Yeah, I
I'm
haven't
aware.
drinking it all yet. I mean, I'm still here. I don't see double vision anymore. So
That's
well, I
right.
appreciate your professionalism.
It's all about balance. I'm drinking and she's not. We're balanced.
Okay, I'm going to be keeping my eye on you though. So
I quickly take a tankard and put it in front of Annie.
she drinks it.
Yeah. And we're walking, and we're walking.
DM, what's our tab at the bar?
Covered for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Negative a gold piece.
Yeah.
I'm -2. Did we want to go and did we need to glean anything from here? Do we want to try and go to the to Candle Lane and see if we can see this warehouse, or do we want to call it a night? What?
Candle Lane sounds
I-
like a nice shiny place.
I don't think I'm going to sleep a whole lot at this point, so I think we should just go.
I'm pretty sure the 12 espressos that you had earlier is what's putting you here. You have
What's an espresso? It sounds amazing.
If Loon has already been missing for 2 or 3 days, we don't want to hold up. Could be torturing him. I mean, if he's even still alive, we at least owe it to Volo to bring this news back.
so.
that's
Also, you mentioned the Black Network, and I assume since Theron is telling us everything I heard, do I know anyone in the Black Network?
Oh, that's a good question.
Mercenaries. I feel like
Yeah. I think you've probably crossed paths with them. I don't know that you've done a lot of business with them, just because at least to this point, my impression, and feel free to correct me, but my impression of Syl is that you, at least until this point, have sort of wanted to be an independent contractor.
Mhm.
Does that feel like a
I
fair
wouldn't
thing to
say
say?
I'm probably I wouldn't say that I've joined anybody, but I've
Right.
worked.
Not that you wouldn't in the future necessarily, but at least to this point, you've maybe crossed paths with some Zents at one point or another,
Okay.
but probably don't know them super well or haven't done like repeat business with any of them at this point.
But I might have some form of contact if we needed to go down that road.
You might do, yeah. You might be able to rustle one up given a little bit of time, yeah.
Okay.
That's really handy.
Yeah, I like that.
All right.
Using my background as the urchin, I can get us there as fast as possible if I know the general direction of where it is.
Yeah, definitely. And you certainly I don't know about the rest of them. We could make rolls, but Theron, you for sure know where Candle Lane is and the most expedient way to get there. So
Is it in the dock ward or no?
it is yes, it is also in the dock ward. So I imagine that you probably would also know where
I
it
know
was.
exactly where it's at.
Yeah. Cool. All right, so you guys heading that way?
Yep.
No,
As
roll
we're
out.
heading, I'll pull Rowan back just a little bit and go, "Hey, big brother, I think an espresso's just a drink that you drink really fast."
Oh, that makes so much sense.
Yes.
So like any time you drink faster. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, she was just trying to caution me against, drinking too fast. I mean,
Yeah,
Right,
I had
totally.
2 espressos right back there.
yeah, I watched. It was
Exactly.
amazing. You just
Yeah.
it's just like you poured it down the sink.
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
good. I've been training. It's good.
Well, I'm super proud of you.
Oh, thanks.
And
Proud of
I
you
just
too.
thank you.
And this is why I stick to water.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Theron
that can be
says as
that
they
can be
head
an
out the
espresso
door.
too.
I love it. All right, so out you all head. Between Theron and Syl, you all can get to Candle Lane pretty expediently. Once you get there, and the two of them know this, but as you get there, gloom just completely. You thought it was dark before, like it's nighttime, and there's like moonlight doesn't really make it down in this dock at all. But when you get to this narrow little alley, it is just dark as a dungeon down here. It is even gloomier than the rest of the street, and the smell is even worse here too. Again, just like in most of the rest of the ward, the street lamps have been smashed, but there is one light sort of at the far end of the lane, like a distant candle. There is one light that kind of pierces the darkness all the way down there.
I'm going to use
Do
a
I
light
see-
cantrip in my
Oh,
hooded
thank
lantern.
goodness.
Yeah, definitely.
Do
Um,
do I see
go
the
ahead.
warehouse?
You can actually all make wisdom perception checks if you like to try and spot this snake marked warehouse.
Yes.
Let's start with Rocky this time.
Perception 13.
Okay. And Rowan?
9.
Okay. And Ani?
13.
Okay. Theron?
I'm too busy paying attention to Ani's hair, thinking, how can I get her braids back after that fight?
Perfect. And Syl?
18.
Okay, so maybe you'd walked by this warehouse before still and seen the insignia and just sort of never thought anything of it to this point. But now that you know what you're looking for, about halfway down this alleyway, you directly across actually from that lamp, which you now see is the only light down this street that is still shining. Right across the street from that lamp is a warehouse that has a black winged snake, exactly like the one in the tattoo that you saw, Rocky, painted above the door's handle.
Does it look like the Iron Fist insignia?
Oh, actually, it sort of. There are similarities for sure. Now that you mention that, actually, that's okay.
Yes. Score.
So
Cool.
that is. So it seems that you found the warehouse.
Oh, well, I would turn to everybody and be like, well, there's a warehouse. Rocky, that's the symbol. Is that what you saw?
Yeah, it looks pretty close, I think. Which means these guys might be dangerous, yeah?
Perhaps. I
We
mean,
should sneak in. I don't want to...
Oh, sneak in. We just barged down the front door. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Ani. Ani.
You can always do
No.
both.
No.
Don't waste your moment kicking down a door when you can wait till the door's open and you can kick someone in the face.
Rocky, have you not told her peace yet? Peace. And patience.
What
It's
is-
a process.
What's that word you just said, Seal? What? I didn't quite catch it.
Unfamiliar.
Yeah, I'm not. Nope.
All right,
You
so we
know,
need to move
An
the
interesting
vocabulary.
thing that happens is that when you try to teach someone patience, usually they just test yours.
I like that. I like that very much.
That's
and
good. I'm
can't-
writing it down.
I can't think of a better cliffhanger than the argument between Ani and Theron about how to proceed. So that is where we're going to call this little adventure for this week.
Ah.
Woo!
Aha.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Obviously, to the five of you, what an awesome first session. I was already in love with all of your characters. You've been amazing in our little Discord chat, setting up all these characters, but to see them live and in action has been so great. I am so excited for the rest of this adventure. Sorry, the binary sun. We are in fact ending today. Let's some
Sorry.
housekeeping things. I know, right? Some housekeeping things to take care of. All of you who have been watching, also a huge thank you to all of you. We really hope you enjoyed and hope that we have whet your palate for what is going to be several months of a lot of urban adventure and intrigue. Like I said, there are 3 other teams that are also going to be running this adventure, and they are going to be intertwined in various ways. So be sure to check them out. The next team is going to play on Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern. That one is going to be DM'd by Dan Gaston, who deserves an enormous shout out and thank you for putting all of this together. He has been an incredible inspiration and just working so hard to make all of this happen. So thank you so much, Dan. So his crew is going to play on Thursday at 8 p.m. right here at twitch.tv/variantrolls. The third team will be running on Friday night and the fourth team on Saturday morning. Just keep an eye on Twitter and come check out the Thursday team, and they'll give you more details about those games. But do come back, check us out. We will, of course, be back at you next Monday, same time, same place, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, here at twitch.tv/variantrolls. I do want to go around and check in with everybody. Let us know a little bit about where we can find you on social media. And also, if you don't mind, tell me what your favorite part of tonight was. So why don't we start this time with, let's start with Max.
Well, Max McLaren, I can be found anywhere I am at AllMaxD20, but mostly I stick around Twitch because I abandoned Facebook. Favorite part about tonight was I usually play a more forward, strong-willed character, so I like taking a chance to just kind of step back and be an observer instead of being the tank in every game I play.
Well, you did a great job. It was a great adjustment, and I'm really excited to see how Theron continues to sort of interact with these less than subtle characters in our party. Awesome. Thanks, Max. Steven, let's go to you.
I'm Stephen Rowe. I'm on Twitter at RightRowe, RITEROWE, and that's because I'm the lead developer for Right Publishing. My favorite part tonight was just the setup. It felt like it really helped us lock in our characters, and the fact that we were kind of separated, but also the relationships were interwoven. That made it really easy to fall into things.
Awesome. Yeah, it was. I'd never tried an in media res start, which I know seems surprising because it's such a thing that people do, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. So
yeah.
Awesome. All righty. Let's go to Allison.
You can find me on Twitter at Letica05, so ATLETIKA, if you have, any questions. It's just a new thing I got basically for D&D, so I will be responsive on that. Best thing about tonight was the fact that Rocky forced me to use my relentless endurance that we talked about. Maybe we won't use it, it's fine. And 14 hit points right there at the start, and I was like, nope, I gotta use it now to, make it better, so yeah.
How cares? I love it. It was. I was not expecting that either. And when he said 14, I went to your D&D Beyond character sheet and I went, "Well, shit." Really good. All right, Jonathan, let's up to you.
Hey, I'm Jonathan Cox. You can find me at Red Hand Roleplay on Twitter. Alice and I are on the Red Hand Roleplay podcast, which you can find us on really any podcatcher you want, redhandroleplay.podbean.com. And my favorite parts, Allison and I work together in real life. And one day we were sitting down and we're going through the sets, okay, is this going to be really crazy for an opening? Are we going to just waylay each other? What's going to happen? No. Statistically, Monk probably has an advantage, but as long as I don't crit, as long as I don't just nail you with both of those hits at the beginning with max damage, you'll be fine. And of course, maxed out first round. So, yeah.
Amazing.
That's what he said in one of our other games, too, when Ray's Snail crit against me, 3 times. So, yeah.
Yeah, the flail snail, yeah.
I thought that the big surprise of the cold open like that was going to be that they're fighting each other, but no, it was that he beat the crap out of her in one go. All right. Last but absolutely not least, Alex.
I'm Alexandra Gaston. No, not related to Dan Gaston.
Correct.
just to throw that out there, but weirdly enough, how I kind of got thrown into all this was just calling attention to the same last name. You can find me on Twitter at GuardSong or on Instagram at Wolf and Dagger. Favorite part about tonight, it's got to be my charm. I've never been this kind of smooth talker character. My other character that I play is really, really brutal, gruff, does not have any charisma at all. She's just stab first, ask questions later kind of person. So kind of being a face is being a lot of fun, and but probably it was messing up Rowan's hair. It was just the best thing, just messing up a little bit and then completely destroying it at the end. Was just
you missed one.
So that was my favorite.
I love it. Awesome. Well, as I said, I am Eugenio Vargas, also known as DM Jazzy Hands, the Dungeon Master for the actual play podcast, The Last Refuge. You can find me on Twitter. All of our Twitter handles are listed occasionally rotating on our little overlay here. Mine is incorrect. So my personal Twitter handle is at Eugenio_Vargas. But you can find out more information about my podcast, The Last Refuge, by tweeting us at DND Last Refuge. We're also on Instagram. You can check out our website, dndlastrefuge.com, our Patreon, patreon.com/DND Last Refuge. It's a little homebrew campaign. We've been going for a little over a year now, and we'd love to have you join the fun over there as well. I think that wraps it up for us tonight. Once again, thank you so very much for watching. Click follow, click subscribe if that is a thing that you do here on Twitch. And we hope to see you all again next Monday. Tell your friends, tweet at us throughout the week, because I know we're not going to do much but think about this for the next 7 days. So drop us a line, say hi, tell your friends to join us next week, and we will see you then for our second episode of Waterdeep Dragon Heist here on Variant Roles. Thanks so much, everybody. Happy gaming, y'all.
Hey.
Bye.
Take care, everyone.